My name doesn't matter. What matters is that I live in a town of about 11,000 people, and for the last 6 years, one of us has gone missing every single year. Always in October, always without a trace. No bodies, no suspects, no evidence. Just gone. 6 years, 6 people. And then, 3 nights ago, all 6 of them came back. On the same night, at the same hour, and none of them remember leaving. This is everything I've pieced together since then, and I need to write it down before I start doubting what I saw with my own eyes. Before the town finishes convincing itself none of this happened the way we all watched it happen. The first one we lost. Her name was Dana Whitfield. She was 19, worked at the diner on Main Street, and disappeared walking home from her shift on October 14th, 6 years ago. Her phone was found in the parking lot, screen still lit, mid-text to her mother. No footprints leading away. No sign of a struggle. The search lasted 3 weeks before the police quietly downgraded it from an active investigation to a cold case. I remember that October because it was the first time our town made the news for something other than the county fair. Reporters came, asked questions, left. The town went back to normal, or at least it pretended to. But something shifted after Dana disappeared. People started locking doors that had never been locked. Parents started walking their kids to the bus stop again, something nobody had bothered with since the 90s. The diner where she worked kept her name tag pinned behind the register for years. A small, quiet memorial nobody talked about directly. Then, the next October, it happened again, and the town's careful attempt at normalcy cracked a little further. The pattern no one wanted to admit. The second person was a mechanic named Roy Castellan, 43 years old, last seen closing up his shop at 8 p.m. on October 9th. The third was a high school senior named Priya Anand, gone from a party on October 22nd, walked out to get something from her car, and never came back inside. The fourth, fifth, and sixth followed the same shape. Different ages, different backgrounds, different parts of town, but always October. Always sudden, always without any physical trace left behind. By year 3, people in town started saying the word out loud that everyone had been avoiding: pattern. By year 4, local news outlets from the next county over picked up the story, running segments with titles like The October Disappearances. By year 5, true crime podcasts found us. Amateur investigators showed up with cameras and theories, most of them insultingly wrong, a few of them uncomfortably close to things only someone from here would know. One podcast host camped outside the diner for 3 days straight, convinced Dana's case was connected to a similar unsolved disappearance 2 states over. It wasn't, as far as anyone could ever confirm, but the theory spread anyway, the way theories do when there's nothing solid to replace them with. I'll admit, I became one of those people. Not with a podcast or a camera, but quietly, on my own, I started keeping a file. Dates, locations, weather conditions, moon phases, anything that might connect 6 people who otherwise had nothing in common. I cross-referenced school records, employment history, even church attendance, looking for a single shared thread. I never found a pattern beyond the month. I want to be honest about that. 6 years of research, hundreds of hours, and October was the only thread I ever found, which made it feel less like a coincidence and more like a countdown nobody else could see. Until 3 nights ago, the night they came back. It was just past 2 a.m. I know because I was awake, because I'm always awake around that time now. An old habit from years of checking local police scanners out of a compulsion I've stopped trying to justify to myself. My phone started buzzing with alerts, one after another, faster than I could read them. Not from the scanner, from people, neighbors, group chats, the kind of rapid-fire messages that only happen when something has gone very wrong, or in this case, impossibly right. Dana Whitfield walked into her mother's kitchen at 2:07 a.m. 6 years after she vanished at 19, she walked through the back door wearing the exact same uniform from the diner, not aged a single visible day, according to her mother, who I spoke to myself 2 days later, still shaking as she told me, still unable to finish a sentence without stopping to stare at her daughter sitting 3 feet away, like she might vanish again mid-conversation. Roy Castellan was found standing outside his old shop, which had been sold and converted into a nail salon 3 years ago, standing at the locked door like he still expected it to open for him, confused about the new sign, the new paint, the new hours posted in the window. Priya Anand appeared in the driveway of the house she'd left as a teenager, now a stranger's home, confused about why her old bedroom light wasn't on, why a car she didn't recognize was parked where her father's used to be. All 6, within the same 20-minute window, all reportedly looking exactly as they did the moment they disappeared. None of them with any memory of the years in between, what they actually remember. I managed to speak with 2 of the 6 directly, both of whom agreed to talk to me on the condition I not use their real names beyond what's already circulating publicly. What they described wasn't captivity. It wasn't trauma in any form investigators initially expected. Both of them independently described the exact same sensation, the feeling of blinking. That's the word both of them used, separately, without knowing the other had said it. Dana told me it felt like she'd closed her eyes for a single second on her walk home from the diner, and when she opened them, she was standing in her mother's kitchen, 6 years having somehow passed in that single blink, with absolutely no memory of anything happening between those 2 moments. Not darkness, not a room, not a captor, just an instant, followed by 6 years gone. I spoke to a third returned individual briefly, a man named Marcus who'd been missing for 2 years before the group I originally tracked. Someone I hadn't even had confirmed information on until that night. He described the same blink, the same total absence of time, but added one detail the others hadn't mentioned. He said that right before the blink, in the last conscious second he remembered, he felt like something had looked directly at him, a sensation he couldn't further describe no matter how many ways I asked him to try. He said it wasn't frightening in the moment, it was almost gentle, he said, which somehow made it worse to think about afterward. Investigators have since confirmed, through hospital examinations conducted the following morning, that all 6 individuals show no physical signs of prolonged captivity, malnutrition, or restraint. No injuries. No trauma consistent with abduction. According to 2 medical staff I spoke to, who asked not to be named given the ongoing investigation, the 6 returned individuals are, physically, in better health than most of the town's current residents. Whatever happened to them, wherever they went, it left no mark at all, except for the 6 years now missing from their lives. The detail nobody wants to talk about. Here's the part that's kept me up for the past 3 nights, more than anything else. I went back through my file, the one I've kept for 6 years, and I checked something I hadn't thought to check before. The exact time each person disappeared, down to the minute, where that information existed. Dana's last text was timestamped 9:14 p.m. Roy's shop security camera, recovered by police at the time, showed him locking the door at 8:03 p.m. before walking off frame and never reappearing. Priya's friends placed her leaving the party at approximately 11:40 p.m. 3 other times, pulled from witness statements and 1 partial security clip, filled out the remaining names, and Marcus, the 7th person I only learned about that night, had a documented timestamp from a gas station camera 2 towns over, time-stamped with unusual precision because of an unrelated incident that happened nearby that same evening. I added up the exact minutes between each person's disappearance and the moment they reappeared 3 nights ago. I expected wildly different numbers, spanning wildly different lengths of time, since they disappeared across different years. Instead, every single one, down to the minute in the cases where I had reliable timestamps, came out to almost exactly the same elapsed duration once you accounted for the years. Not close. Nearly identical, differing only by a matter of minutes across cases that spanned years apart from one another. I don't know what that means yet, but it means something. It means whatever took them wasn't operating randomly. It was operating on a schedule so precise that disappearances spread across separate Octobers were always going to end at the exact same collective moment, on a night none of us could have predicted, using a formula none of us could see until it was already finished. What happens now? The town is doing what small towns do after something inexplicable happens. It's trying very hard to move on before anyone asks the harder questions. Local officials have offered vague statements about ongoing investigation and medical evaluation, but privately, 2 separate people involved in the initial response have told me the same thing off the record. Nobody has any theory that survives contact with the actual facts. Not abduction, not a hoax, not some elaborate coordinated disappearance. The returned individuals came back exactly as they left, exactly on schedule, with a missing chunk of time so clean it doesn't even look like trauma. It looks like something was paused and then resumed. I keep thinking about that word, paused, because if people can vanish for exactly the same calculated duration and return without a mark on them, then the disappearances were never really disappearances at all. They were withdrawals, and if something can withdraw multiple people cleanly enough to return them on schedule, in perfect condition, with the timing precise down to the minute, then the only question left is the one nobody in this town wants to say out loud. If it took them on a schedule and gave them all back at once, exactly according to plan, then what happens when the schedule isn't finished yet? What happens if the ones I tracked were only ever the first entries, and there's another already time-stamped, already waiting, already counting down toward an October none of us have reached yet. I don't have an answer to that. What I have is a file, years of dates and timestamps that finally added up to something. A seventh name I didn't even know to look for until 3 nights ago, and a very specific, very cold feeling that whatever took those people did not do it on our timeline. It did it on its own, and it kept its word, exactly on time, down to the minute. I'll be keeping the file open. If you're from this town, and you notice anything, a strange pattern, a name you haven't thought about in years, a feeling that something's watching the calendar closer than you are, tell me. Because whatever this is, it isn't finished. It just paused. Subscribe to Anime Echo Tales, because some stories don't end when you think they do. They just wait for the next scheduled return.